Number 10. Interactive Holograms. The season 11 episode Bart to the Future has been one of the most mentioned Simpsons episodes when it comes to predictions. It helps that it takes place in 2030, which at the time I'm recording this is still 8 years away. If YouTube is still around then and you're watching to see if any of these came true, let me know in the comments. I promise that I'll check. The episode most notably correctly predicted that Donald Trump would become president, but there were some other things that have yet to happen that could mean trouble for us in the future. In the beginning of the episode, Bart is watching Itchy and Scratchy, the gory version of Tom and Jerry, but instead of on the TV, he is watching a 3D hologram. While these are close to becoming a reality with the likes of Tupac and even Homer himself being shown as holograms on stages, a 3D hologram that is interactive is far from our capabilities right now. The scary part of this is when blood gets sprayed all over the walls of the Simpson home from the cartoon. While the idea of an interactive hologram is cool, in practice I think that it could provide some real nightmare fuel. Before we get to our next entry, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you're enjoying the video so far. Number 9. Virtual takeover. I'm a lover of VR. You know, my headset probably gets the most use out of all of my gaming consoles, so I love the idea of VR becoming more immersive, and we're making some huge strides, like haptic technology that allows us to feel things happening in the virtual world, or full body and face capture technology to allow realistic bodies and movement in games. But one thing that is yet to happen that could be on the way is a mass adoption of VR on the scale of what happens in season 28 episode 2, where Mr. Burns discovers VR and the whole town of Springfield is using it to a point of near societal collapse. While virtual reality allows for some amazing things to happen and augmented and mixed reality have some more practical non-gaming applications, it's not out of the realm of possibility for us all to be walking around with some sort of crazy device strapped to our heads in the future that allows us to change the world we see. But the implications of losing touch with reality can be massive, and the episode proves it. So let's hope that if VR takes off like I think it can, that we keep our feet on the ground and in touch with the real world around us, and take the goggles off from time to time, or we'll forget to take care of our actual reality. Number 8. Hologram trees. The episode Lisa's Wedding from season 6 takes place in 2010, 15 years from 1995 when the episode was released, and unsurprisingly many of the predictions of the future have yet to come to pass, like Big Ben being replaced with a digital interface. But one that we should definitely not want to happen is the hologram trees that we see. While the thought of being able to switch from coniferous to deciduous at the drop of a hat is pretty fun, if they're just aesthetic, we could be in a world of trouble. Trees filter CO2 from our air and give us back oxygen, which is pretty nice of them. And unless the holograms have some CO2 scrubbing tech to come with them, replacing real ones with projections will have a dramatic impact on our atmosphere. We can already see the beginnings of this with deforestation, so let's focus on our real arborist friends rather than holographic ones. Number 7. Robot Rebellion. Them Robot was the 17th episode of the 23rd season, and in it we see Mr. Burns replacing all of his employees with robots except Homer to save costs. But one seems to be developing a personality when it understands Homer's working hard or hardly working joke. Homer eventually messes with the robots so much that they ignore the laws of robotics and attempt to kill Springfield residents. Obviously this would spell disaster in the real world as it does in the show, and we're moving towards more and more automation in the workplace, allowing humans to work less dangerous jobs and eventually allowing us to hopefully spend more time living life than working our time away. But we are nowhere near that point yet. The Simpsons dabbles with the idea a few times, like in the episode Itchy and Scratchy Land, where the animatronics gain sentience and attack parkgoers, a la Five Nights at Freddy's. AI gaining sentience has been the device of science fiction horror stories for such a long time, but it's becoming closer and closer to a real life issue. Heck, there's even a robot named Sophia with AI so advanced that she was granted citizenship in Saudi Arabia. I don't want to deal with real life Cybermen when the Cyberium takes over, so maybe we should slow down on the whole giving robots consciousness thing. Number 6. French Fiasco. The French have been an ally to the Western world for the entirety of modern history, but in Treehouse of Horror 8, all of that is thrown out the window when Mayor Quimby makes an apparently offensive frog's legs joke and refuses to apologize, telling them to do their worst. Even Marge joins in on the jabs by saying, "You know how unpredictable the French are. One minute they're kissing a woman's hand, the next they're chopping off her head." Well, the French president didn't take too kindly to this and starts a war by launching a neutron that levels the town, leaving Homer as the last person alive in all of Springfield, and we all know that leaving Homer alone is a terrible idea. Now, it should be painfully obvious why France launching missiles aimed at the US would be something we don't want to happen, but that's not the only scary prediction from this episode. Number 5. Teleportation. In Fly vs. Fly, the second story in this episode, Homer buys a teleportation pod from Professor Frink for 50 cents. A damn good deal if you ask me, but maybe too good to be true, as the rest of the episode shows some of the terrors horrors that could come with this tech. Instantly arriving somewhere else on the Earth after simply stepping into a pod has been a dream of many scientists for centuries, and the practical applications would change society as we know it. And there have been some crazy advancements, like the Chinese scientists who teleported particles to a satellite in space. But in the episode, we get a warning of the dangers that could lie ahead, with reference to the classic science fiction horror The Fly. We see the loyal Simpson pets, Santa's Little Helper, and Snowball 2 becoming merged together Cronenberg style, and Bart gets the idea to turn into a superhero with the power of flight by merging with a fly. Clearly he didn't see what happened to Jeff Goldblum, but life finds a way. And Bart and the Fly switch heads when their DNA is merged together, leading to the horror show of what the family has to deal with. I don't know about you, but I don't plan on mixing my DNA with any other creatures, so until that's sorted out, I'll stick with the TARDIS. Number 4. Colonization of Mars. Season 27, episode 16, has the Simpsons signing up to be some of the first colonizers of the Red Planet, albeit somewhat unwillingly, and eventually their trip turns out to be a scam perpetrated by the scientists, whose rocket fails to start, and when they try to flee the scene, their car can't start either. But at the end of the episode, we get a time jump to 2051 and see them actually living on Mars, though Lisa now wants to leave and move to Venus, which would be an absolutely horrible idea. Though the idea of Mars colonization is thrown around all the time these days, the thought that we may have to use it as a necessity when we finish destroying this planet is not a future I look forward to. But I mean, I'd probably go. Would you? Number 3. The dome. The main plot device in the Simpsons movie comes in the form of a giant dome encapsulating the entire town of Springfield after pollution has led to mutations in local wildlife, and not just the three-eyed fish near the nuclear plant. Stephen King actually released his novel turned TV series Under the Dome in 2009, 2 years after the Simpsons movie debut. Another prediction, perhaps? While the idea is incredibly silly, we have seen in the past few years that quarantine can become a reality for us, albeit without the impenetrable dome, but who knows, maybe in the future this could become a real thing to stop environmental disasters from getting out of hand, like catching a hurricane in a bottle or something. Ridiculous, I know, but let's just hope we never have to use it. Number 2. Time travel. People assume that time is a strict progression from cause to effect, but actually from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. And the Simpsons have dabbled with time travel many times over their 34 seasons, but in Treehouse of Horror 5, we get a glimpse of what is commonly known as the butterfly effect. I know Ashton Kutcher's ears just pricked up when I said that. Time travel could have insane implications on the human race, but there are multiple theories on how it would work. Maybe if you went to the past, you would create an entirely new timeline where things are different. Or maybe nothing is able to be changed at all because time is constant and what has happened has always happened. But in the episode, we see that Homer's small changes in the past with his time-traveling toaster bring massive consequences forward, like Flanders ruling the world, people becoming giants, and even the world having no knowledge of donuts. So, if time travel becomes a reality, and maybe it already has in the future, we need to be careful not to mess with anything, or we risk losing everything. And finally, we reach our number 1, mini black hole. In Treehouse of Horror 23, the town of Springfield begrudgingly builds a particle reactor instead of a baseball stadium and creates a tiny black hole, which swallows up a few residents before Lisa can move it to her basement for safekeeping. After she warns the family to not throw anything into it, lest it grow bigger, they do exactly that, and it becomes massive and swallows everything in its path, taking the townsfolk to an alternate dimension where aliens worship the trash they disposed of in the hole. Black holes are scary enough on their own, let alone what would happen if one was to pop up on Earth, already surrounded by matter it could consume. So hopefully this prediction never happens, or we wouldn't know what hit us until we were spaghettified, which is an actual scientific term describing what would happen if you fell into a black hole. You would be stretched infinitely thin as you were pulled across the event horizon, and since time is affected by gravity, it would last an infinite amount of time. Spaghettification, your new word of the week.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Prince Philip's passing. Last year in April of 2021, Prince Philip, the husband to Queen Elizabeth II, passed away, and it is said that The Simpsons might have predicted his death right down to the day. In season 7, episode 3, Home Sweet Home Diddly Dum Doodly, the Simpsons neighbors, the Flanders, temporarily take the children in after a lice outbreak. Apparently they're all driving in a car on the way to church, and baby Maggie suddenly just turns her head to Bart and Lisa and says, quote, "Prince Philip will die on April 9th, 2021. Okay, it's probably the most on-the-nose prediction, and all I can say is, How? Apparently, the line has since been replaced in recent versions, but it is said that this is actually what was said in the original broadcast, which happened in 1995, 26 years before his actual passing. It truly is one of those chilling Simpsons predictions moments. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Queen's passing. There are many viral TikToks that have been going around since the Queen's passing that suggest that The Simpsons actually predicted her death. The episode in question is season 15, episode 4, The Regina Monologues, which we will be talking about a few more times today. But to start off with, we have this recent rumor. The TikToks have been edited with certain footage in a way that suggests that this episode did in fact predict the Queen's death, but when we watch the entire episode, that is likely not the case at all. The episode doesn't show the way in which the Queen passed, and also, she doesn't even die in the episode. While this was a very clever trick to get a viral TikTok video, it looks like this is one time when we've all been bamboozled and the writers didn't quite predict our reality. In our number 8 spot today, we have the accident. Okay, so we just talked a little bit about the Regina Monologues episode, but that is not where the predictions end for this one. In the episode, the Simpson family rents a Mini Cooper and they start driving around London. Marge is shocked at how well everything is going on their first trip to England, but of course that can only last for so long. They get stuck on a roundabout, which is honestly a universal experience. I mean, they're so confusing when you're not used to them. Why do they even exist? And the family starts to drive in circles for hours. Homer finally decides that enough is enough and decides to break out of the roundabout. When he does this, however, he plows straight through the gates of Buckingham Palace and he slams into Queen Elizabeth II's horse-drawn carriage. Now, we know this didn't happen in real life, but this could be a prediction that something similar might happen in real life. Probably not as a result of a roundabout, but people try to do strange things when it comes to protected places. People try to sneak into Buckingham Palace all the time. It wouldn't necessarily be surprising to see something like this happen, but hopefully this is just a premise that will stay in the animated show where it truly does belong. In our number 7 spot today, we have standing trial. After this horse-drawn carriage accident, Homer has no idea who he just knocked down and he starts trying to sort of brush the whole thing off. Of course, this isn't accepted and immediately the Scots guardsmen start beating him to a pulp. After this, however, Homer is put on trial for causing harm to the Queen as well as for wrecking her carriage. On trial, Homer calls the Queen an imposter because her luggage has the inscription HRH. Of course, meant to mean Her Royal Highness, Homer suggests that this is actually short for Henrietta R. Hippo. Can totally see how he got there. Rather than believing this is a prediction that the Queen is really Henrietta Hippo, some people believe that this is just a grim prediction for a monarch's future. Of course, there are plenty of safety protocols put in place, but some are worried that this might mean that this episode might be predicting that we will see someone stand trial in the future for trying to harm the head of state. Whether or not you enjoy the royal family, it's safe to say that most people hope that they don't get harmed, either intentionally or otherwise, so hopefully this is one prediction that just does not come true. In our number 6 spot today, we have the sentencing. For the final prediction that comes with this whirlwind of an episode, after Homer accuses the Queen of being Henrietta R. Hippo, she is of course outraged and she sentences him to being imprisoned in the Tower of London, later to be executed by beheading, and to have his head placed on a spike. In the end, the Queen does pardon Homer, but some have suggested that this might be a prediction that we might see some old historical and horrifying royal practices come back in the future. We'll talk about a similar kind of prediction with another royal family member later in this list, but some people believe that these sort of gruesome forms of capital punishment might end up coming back. To end off this episode, the Queen only agrees to pardon Homer on the condition that the Simpson family take Madonna with them when they left. I don't think that part is any kind of real prediction, I just wanted to include it because it's pretty funny. In our number 5 spot today, we have royal spying. In an episode of The Simpsons, the now King Charles III, along with his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II, can be seen watching over Springfield. They're doing this through surveillance cameras that have been planted all over the town. Some people have suggested that this perhaps is a prediction that could already be happening or might be something that our future holds. It's safe to say that the UK already does have its fair share of CCTV cameras, which for many reasons is great, but of course people worry about being spied on, which is entirely fair. I don't necessarily think that the royal family just sits around spying on everyone, but there is definitely potential that they, or people working from them, know more than anyone would like to know, making the royal family sound like the CIA, but who knows? The Simpsons have definitely predicted stranger things. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Tyrant. This is one prediction that The Simpsons made that, while hopefully unlikely, we'll definitely just have to wait and see to find out. In The Simpsons, while Prince Harry doesn't make a lot of appearances, they do include him in the show, of course, and they have quite a grim prediction for his future self. They suggests that perhaps in the future Prince Harry has risen to power. It's not so bad. Prince Harry is certainly one of the more likable members of the royal family. I know for some of you that's a hot take, but regardless, although Harry is not in line for the throne and has almost mostly renounced his royalty, he is still part of the family, and again, stranger things have happened. Once in power, however, things go awry and Harry proves to be an entirely different person than anyone would have expected. In The Simpsons, once in power, Harry becomes a ruthless tyrant who is so bad that he reinstates capital punishment, but this time he's taking a tip from his ancestors. It's not just regular modern day capital punishment that we see now, it is of course in royal family fashion, done in the form of beheadings. In our number 3 spot today we have Out of Control. This is another Simpsons prediction that, depending on how you look at it, could be one that you could say did come true. When the Simpsons family went to England, most of the newspapers in the episode showed that they were reporting on the trial of Homer for harming the Queen. Of course, that's like one of the central focuses of the episode, so it makes a lot of sense, but there is one paper that has a different headline. In the episode, it's actually the Daily Mail, and they have the headline, quote, "Bart and Prince Harry out of control," and it shows a picture of the two outside of a bar. Now, I'm not saying that Prince Harry went on a pub crawl and got messy with Bart Simpson, but there are people who didn't enjoy how Prince Harry has chosen to live his life. We all have haters, no worries Prince Harry, but many people would suggest that his behavior is, quote, out of control. I personally disagree, but I know not everyone does. It's safe to say that Prince Harry likely won't be seen outside of any bar on a newspaper cover anytime soon, but who am I to say for sure? In our number 2 spot today we have King Henry VIII. Less of a prediction for the future, considering this episode was strictly about historical figures. Season 15, episode 11, Margical History Tour, takes us back in time and shows us a Simpsons version of the life of King Henry VIII. Known for being quite a terrible person and an absolutely horrible husband, the episode, while of course taking quite a few liberties, really is surprisingly accurate for a comedy animation show. The king was married 6 times, and in the episode he beheads quite a few of his wives. In reality it was only 2, but still 2 is more than enough for us in the future to add a couple extra in for dramatic effect. While this episode is just a fun premise for a silly episode, some worry that this might be a prediction for how the royal family might fall back into some old practices. Queen Elizabeth II was incredibly loved by those who support the monarchy, and it's safe to say that her successor does not have the same kind of adoration. This makes people worried that things might end up in a more grim place than how the Queen left them. In our number 1 spot today we have Prince Christian. A departure from the British royal family, this young prince made a debut in the animated show. Prince Christian of Denmark, who is now 16, is 12 years old in the episode. The Simpsons family travels to Denmark for a medical treatment for Grandpa, and it is here that Lisa meets the man of her dreams, the skateboarding prince. The episode skips to the future and it shows Lisa and the prince getting married and waving from their balcony. Of course, no one thinks that this very real prince is going to marry the very fictional Lisa Simpson, but some believe that perhaps this might be a prediction for the future of the prince's love life. Normally, royal marriages are strategic, but it's possible, similar to Prince Harry, that Prince Christian might just meet his future love in a more non-traditional fashion. The prince is obviously still quite young, so only time will tell with this one.
Starting off this countdown, we have the trucker convoy. Recently, here in Canada, truckers are protesting around Parliament Hill against COVID-19 mandates. A convoy of big rigs are in Ottawa, blocking off streets and access to the Parliament. And it seems like The Simpsons might have predicted this. In Season 10's episode 17, Homer and Bart go on a cross-country journey as truck drivers. While doing so, they encounter truck convoys. And then, the trucks attempt to run them off the road before blocking the road completely. In fact, when Homer first spots the trucks, he says to Bart, "Look son, it's one of nature's most beautiful sights, the convoy." This episode aired in 1999. Now, what's actually funny is someone edited a clip from another Simpsons episode with this one. The episode was from Doe, Canada. In the clip, we see Trudeau escaping his office while the convoy heads towards him. Now that part is fake, like I said, they edited 2 clips together, it's hilarious, but still, many people think that The Simpsons predicted this whole trucker protest situation. In our 8th spot, we have the colonization of Mars. This year might have been the year in which we colonize Mars. In Season 27, Episode 16, titled Margian Chronicles, Lisa signs up to be part of a mission to colonize Mars. As a result, she ends up on Mars with Marge. In the Simpsons episode, I believe it takes place in the year 2026, but Elon and his team at SpaceX have been trying to develop cargo ships leaving for Mars in 2022. So it certainly will be the start of the colonization of Mars. In fact, by 2050, he wants to send 1 million people to Mars. How wild is that? Would you sign up to go to Mars though? Let me know in the comments below. I personally would not, okay? I like it here. Moving on to number 7, we have the Bigfoot. Do you believe in the Bigfoot? I mean, over the years, a number of people have claimed to have encounters with it, so maybe it is real. But most of the population thinks it's all just a hoax. According to The Simpsons though, this year we might find out more information on this furry beast. So there's 2 episodes I'm going to refer to here. In one episode, Homer is on a camping trip and ends up looking like Bigfoot after falling into some mud. He's then captured by scientists for observation. They think they finally found this mysterious beast. Then in an episode from 2002 titled "The Bart Wants What It Wants," Bart encounters Bigfoot while exiting a bus in Canada. Why does The Simpsons keep hinting at the Bigfoot? Do they know something that we don't know? In our 6th spot, we have the NFTs. NFTs are all the rage lately, and I'm not gonna lie, I still don't completely understand them. All I know is that people are buying these images of apes wearing different outfits, and they're called the Bored Apes. Surely you all have seen it by now and know what I'm talking about. Well, take a look at this image of Lisa Simpson and tell me that it doesn't look like it could be part of someone's collection of NFTs. This image alone has people thinking that The Simpsons predicted the rise of NFTs. But let me know your thoughts. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the cryptocurrency. Alongside NFTs, the other thing on the rise is crypto, and another thing that I once again know nothing about. But in an episode from 1997, The Simpsons made a reference to it. So this is from season 8, and the episode is titled "My Sister, My Sitter." In the episode, there's a scene where we see Homer and Marge on a date outside. In the background, we see a crypto barn. It's literally called Crypto Barn, with the slogan, "A place for codes." Coincidence? Maybe, but why did they have that in the episode? And it's a place where you can buy codes. It's a little weird. The Simpsons video game Tapped Out also mentions this place. In fact, this property is the most expensive place in the game, with a price tag of $81,000 US. I don't know, the whole thing is just so wild to me. Moving on to number 4, we have mind control music. Now there's a reason why us humans feel so connected to music. Certain sounds have the ability to comfort us, irritate us, make us happy, make us sad. And it might just be that they will eventually control us completely. First off, let's take a look at an episode from 2001 called New Kids on the Blech, or Blech, I don't know how to pronounce it, BLECCH. In the episode, we see Bart in a new band with his friends, but the band was using a secret mind control device for the Navy. So their music is actually a psychological operation that is used to send children subliminal messages and control their mind. So people believe that in the future, songs will be used to control us. Some people believe it's already begun. Like back in the day, there was that whole case of 2 people shooting themselves after listening to the song Better By You, Better Than Me. One of the men survived, revealed that while listening to the song, they heard what sounded like "Let's be dead," and then it just kept chanting do it, over and over again. So it persuaded them into taking their own lives. So there might possibly be a rise in hidden messages in songs in an attempt to control us. Moving on to number 3, we have World War III. Now, I really hope this prediction doesn't come true this year or at all. But according to The Simpsons, it might. In the 1995 episode titled Lisa's Wedding, we dive 15 years into the future. From there, we see what life is like in the future. Now, in the episode, we see Homer and Lisa's fiance, Hugh, drinking at Moe's bar. During the scene, a very weird exchange goes on between Moe and Hugh, suggesting that there was a 3rd World War. And with the whole Ukraine-Russia situation going on right now, this prediction has me spooked. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the metaverse. The metaverse is defined as a simulated environment that uses augmented reality, virtual reality, and blockchain. In this world, it mimics the real world, and in it you can interact, socialize, work, game, and experience other things that you would normally do in the real world. And guess who predicted this in an episode from over a decade ago? The Simpsons. In the episode, we see the characters attach a cord to themselves and then disappear into a different reality. In this other reality, they have features like a place that you can go gamble and a virtual friends list where you can add or reject people, kind of like Facebook, adding or rejecting friend requests. It's eerily similar as to what Mark Zuckerberg has planned, but The Simpsons came up with it first, so Marky Mark is a little thief. Just kidding.